Hi, guys. Welcome back. My name is Dano, your irreverent on the internet. As I said last time, not looking to replace anybody, but just here to help you in your understanding of Christianity. And I call this evidence, interpretation, and decisions of God's presence in your life. And last time we talked about reasons to believe in Jesus instead of religion. This is part two. And in part one, we talked about do versus done, how religion expects you to do, while with Jesus, the work is done. And today in part two, we'll be talking just some main points, three main points about um, just, I'll call it advice and warnings. I don't want to make it sound dire by any stretch of the imagination. But number one, conflicts with other non Christian religions. And just so you know, number two is conflicts with other Christian religions. So, conflicts, number one, conflicts with other non Christian religions. If you look around long enough and you drive enough, I'm sure you have seen the bumper sticker on cars that says coexist, with each letter represented by a religious symbol. And the idea is for all religions to coexist. And in all seriousness, that's fine and good because we're all human beings and we're all sharing one planet. The problem is that my decent and moral behavior may not align with your moral and decent behavior, especially if we're trying to follow the tenets or guidelines. Oh, pardon me. I'll have to edit that out. Oh, wait, I don't know how to edit. Um, the problem is my moral and decent behavior may not align with yours. And then what? What do we do? Do we just agree to disagree and move on? Well, we can. I mean, if we're in a position where we don't talk about these things, but that doesn't always work. Especially today when people have polarized lives and labeled lives based on political and or religious titles. Now you may not, but there are a lot that do. Oh wait. Oh my goodness. Remember to edit that out. Oh wait, we already talked about that. Never mind. See, getting back, many religions have disagreements on appropriate behavior. Um, it's just the way it is. You know, families have disagree on what it is to be a good parent. Religions have disagreements on what appropriate behavior is and isn't, and there isn't an ability in that case to agree to disagree. Eventually, everyone must choose sides for themselves, and in the end, we'll stand and fight. And we'll hold our ground and do whatever it is for what we believe in. So, I guess what I'm trying to say here is there's no reason to pick a fight if one isn't needed. And yeah, at some point you might get into discussing things about what our 100 years or so of life on Earth is, then what? And then, you can kind of go about it how you want. Talk about it if you want to draw up battle lines, and differences can be pointed out however you do it. Like I said, this is just kind of some warnings and advice of what might be coming. And you may have already had conversations like this. But just understand, sometimes there are no shades of gray in these matters. It's only black and white for some. So, you can agree to disagree, or if not, then you might have to go a bit further. Your choice, your decision. So, like I said, number 2, conflicts with other religions. Apparently, I'm yawning a lot. And I'm sorry. If I had an editor, if I knew how to edit, I would, but I don't. So, number 2, conflicts with other Christian religions. And if you do know how to edit and you feel like you want to take this on, let me know. Conflicts with other Christian religions. So, believe it or not, battle lines here exist as well. But because everybody is supposed to be under the umbrella of Jesus Christ, those differences aren't always obvious. So, for example, and I stress the example, and it may not be entirely accurate. It may be. Anyway, for example, let's say you decide that you mention to a Roman Catholic. I don't know anything about Orthodox Catholic, the Greek Church. I assume it's similar. I just happen to know more about Roman Catholicism. Let's say you mention to a Roman Catholic that you do not attend Mass every week. Or that you never say the Rosary. That person may not say anything to you, but in their mind, they may judge you, hold you in less esteem. Now, for example, let's say you tell a conservative Protestant that anyone can marry anybody else or anything else, regardless of what their birth certificate says or what their farm certificate says. I mean, tell a conservative Protestant that you want to marry a billy goat. Let's see how that goes. Or let's say you tell a liberal Protestant that only men should serve as leaders and that their sermons should have more hell and damnation about them. Yeah, you're probably walking on some thin ice there. So remember, in part 1, I talked about the opposite of Jesus, meaning that religions have expectations and demands for the participants and to do certain things at certain times. And, this is how you can kind of differentiate groups that are being religious and which ones truly want you to become their family with no sort of agendas. And what I'm saying here when you're talking about conflicts with other Christian religions and trying to look at it through those filters that we talked about in part 1, it's easier said than done. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It's tough. It is tough. People are people. People are human beings. And human beings are messy. And I don't mean covered with mud. Their lives are messy. How do I know that? Well, you tell me how many people you want to have answer the question. So, tell me, really, how are you? Most people, myself included, run. Run fast the other way. Anyway, this is easier said than done. Because there's risk. And there is a risk in letting your guard down and letting people really know who you are, especially when it comes to going to church. And if you're genuinely kind of taking not a scientific approach, but if you're visiting different churches, that can be hard to do because you want to be kind of left alone. So, I think it's great if you decide to go visit churches and other denominations and just kind of see how they are, see how they worship Christ. You may not be able to tell a whole lot in your first visit. A lot of people are trained, and they are. There are groups within churches of people that are trained to be nice and smile and be generous to you with their words and their actions. And that's great. I'm not putting that down. I'm just letting you know that this exists, and it may come off as false to you. It's more than likely not at all. But if you're not ready for it, you might be put off by it. So if you find a church that you like, attend for a while before making any commitments. The best gauge, I would say, is how they treat the Bible. Is it there, or are they really kind of driving it home and saying, this is our life? The last bit is rules and expectations. And we've kind of touched on that a little bit. Every family, and my family, your family, every family has their own kind of traditions or rules or way to do things. And the gathering of Christians is really no different. The problem comes in when there are demands and expectations that are kind of accompanied by a threat or some sort of disciplinary action. And you more think of cults when you think of stuff like that, but yeah, it can exist even in churches you wouldn't think this should exist. So at some point, I genuinely, honestly believe that you should become a member of a church family. And a church family of believers in Jesus Christ. I should probably qualify that since we've talked about a lot of other types of churches. And as you're kind of examining this group, see if they pass the do versus done test. Do they expect you to do a lot, or do they just, treat the Bible as the Word of God and Jesus has done it all for us and there's nothing left for us to do except believe? Now, keep in mind, they are going to ask for your address. They are going to ask for your phone number or your email, and they all do. And some of you might even have your financial support asked for eventually. Maybe not at first, but eventually. I mean, it's a church, yet it's a business in the fact that it needs money to survive. So any of that stuff does not violate anything. Just go slowly, tread carefully, let them know that you're doing that. You're just kind of feeling them out, and you're not a quick decision maker. Just however you want to present it, it's up to you. That's what I would say. And they should respect that. And if not, then you have more information than you had before. Now, if there is a lengthy process of jumping through hoops and reading this and memorize that and believing in something that just doesn't make sense to you, your senses are kind of like, your spidey senses are tingling, as they say, you have more information than you did before. At some point, you are going to probably be asked to read this and memorize that. But again, trust your own feelings. If you're truly seeking God, I believe He will be there in your journey. You will come across Him. For some, it might be easy. For you, maybe God wants you to work a little harder before you kind of see Him and understand Him and come to that moment of, yes, now I believe. Whatever the path is, it's the best one for you. I do know that, and I have faith in that. Back to going to churches and trying to learn from them. It can be difficult determining whether or not they want you to make a commitment to your seriousness. So just kind of, deep breaths. Because, again, churches would like a commitment. I mean, they love it when you show up. But, again, just kind of feel out that do versus done. How's the Bible treated? Is there a to-do list? Or are they just asking you to believe, which is the done thing? Jesus has done the work. We just need to believe that it's all done. So I hopefully haven't confused you with all this. And I am a resource. If you'd love to contact me and let me know what you're going through, I will do my best to answer any questions that you have. So my name is Dano. Thanks again for tuning in. Please hit the like button. Please share this channel with your friends. Subscribe if you'd like to be notified when I post new content, which obviously isn't that frequent. Your comments are greatly appreciated, and questions too. Like I said, I'd be glad to answer them. So thanks again. Until next time, God bless.